back with Stratton Kraft with Kraft Family Dairies. So thanks for coming back on.
Yep.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago we talked about more of the dairy and milk production side of things and kind of how you guys run your business and a little bit of the history there behind Kraft Family Dairies. And now I wanted to get it more into the farming side because obviously that's where our relationship started
Right.
back in 2021. Started scouting, and we were both in that total acre group, or back then it was next level. So
Right.
very
Right.
much of that. Let's get a peer group together kind of mentality and learn how David Hula raises 600 bushel corn. I wouldn't say it was a waste of time at all.
It was worth every bit of the money.
Yeah, we ended up hitting 40 bushel ton silage,
Yep.
or 40 bushel,
Or
40
40
ton
ton,
silage an acre.
310 bushel corn. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we definitely implemented some new things, and I guess Ed, on the dairy side, real quick, one thing I forgot to ask you last time was on DFA,
Hmm.
Dairy Farmers of America. I think we all recognize the logo. We see their trucks going down. They've also done a good job of branding.
Right. Well,
So
and so many brands that you don't know that are DFAs that you consume every day.
yeah, so tell me more about DFA. Like I know this is a little bit of a side tangent, but it's some I know just again before I clicked
Oh,
record,
we
I
love
learned a lot
rabbit
from you.
holes. We
So
love rabbit holes.
rabbit holes are good, but
So DFA, largest ag cooperative in the world, 14,400 plus dairy farmers that are involved in the co-op, and it's a member-owned co-op. Um, Run by dairy farmers, made by dairy farmers. If you get out of the dairy business and you want a place to go and still be in the dairy business, DFA is your home. Starbucks that you get in the convenience store, that's all bottled by DFA in our plant in Kabul, Missouri, because we have the bottling facility and we supply the milk. We bottle the coffee. Bang energy drink, same line.
what percentage of dairy is in Bang?
None. There's
So it really doesn't even matter if there's
no,
a
but
dairy product going into it necessarily. They're just using their infrastructure.
right, yeah. So it is foolish to say, oh, we're a dairy company. We're only going to process dairy stuff. We're also in the salsa business.
When to guess that?
No, but we supply the milk products for the queso for Tostitos queso. Well, the salsa comes in the same jar. We own the bottling facility. It's foolish to not keep that operation running when you have to go and retool or rebuild a packaging facility. I mean, it's billions of dollars at this point in time. A minimum of 250 million is the last number I knew, just to put the equipment inside. So if when you say, "Oh well, all the bottles look the same, all the cans look the same," well, yeah, that shit's expensive,
Yeah.
and uh, you can put a label on anything. The only one that I know of is the difference between is Dr. Pepper, whether it comes in a Coke bottle or whether it comes in a Pepsi bottle. It depends on where it's processed. Same product, different label, different package. Bang, Monster, which we do process some Monster. Some of the other energy drinks, Rockstar. I'm not a big energy drinks. Amp, those sorts of things. It's all the same freaking can. Why wouldn't you, you if you make it run and make it worth your time, right? We just charge a bottling fee and a process fee, and that money ends up going back to the dairyman.
So do they bid it out then to
They bid
like a
everything.
yeah, they just bid it out,
Yep.
and if that drink company is like, oh, it makes sense for DFA to bottle it for us,
Yep.
then
And we do a lot where you bring your bottles and we'll process it, and we can distribute it for you too if we need to go that far. Um, DFA, because of how large they are, they have the ability to shuffle things around the country on their own backhauls, or if this plant needs this part of the milk and this plant needs this part of the milk, they split it out when everybody's whole. If we need to change gears and a plant in Texas goes down, we can shuffle stuff up to Fort Morgan or Greeley or somewhere else and do what's called a balancing act. We balance all of the milk in the United States. Um, we're a, we kind of get broken out into regions. So we're in the Mountain Council, we're in the Mountain Region. Um, each region kind of functions on their own. Mountain Council is one of the only councils that hauls our own milk on a DFA branded truck. A lot of the other guys are custom haul. And what is now happening is this is what we had the last conversation about doing everything in house, is that is starting to spill over into the other regions to keep that stuff in house and eventually get our freight rate. I think one of the guys from DFA that's in charge of transportation, his goal is that our freight rate is zero across the entire country. That would be amazing if we can do the backhauls and the switches and stuff with different outfits and different cooperatives across the country or
Mm-hmm.
different plants and make it profitable all the way around. You take 35 cents a hundredweight off of the freight rate, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, what's the main difference on how that cooperative of dairy farmers was formed versus a lot of these store like CHS or FVC or I mean all these grain commodity um, fertilizer retailers. I guess what was different in the model that I mean DFA seems very successful, um,
We share
and also
information.
well liked. Whereas a lot of the co-ops now, I
We
think,
share information and we share dividends. Um, and it's a buy-in process. Like I can go to CHS. Technically, I'm a member
right.
because I purchased product from them. DFA, I can buy membership and buy ownership in the company, and I can be as involved as I absolutely want to. If I want to be on corporate board, if I want to be on um, any of the councils that I'm involved in regionally or in any of the meetings, you're encouraged to show up. The information sharing is amazing that happens within DFA. There's also the political aspect that DFA helps with. Really, you get out of all these things what you put into them, and it also really makes a huge difference as to who you have at the top. Tom Camarlo, Rick Smith, and our current CEO of DFA is Dennis Rodenbaugh, and I don't think you could get much better CEOs. And that is the only person that the executive board hires is one person, and they've all stayed for a very long time. Dennis Rodenbaugh, I think, I want to say he's in like year 5 or 6 now. Rick Smith, I think, was in there for over 20 years. Um, that speaks volumes,
Yeah.
and the culture in DFA within its employees that work at the plants, that work in the Kansas City office, they're um, the culture is amazing. Um, they really do care about the dairymen. They really do care about who is actually the owners. And occasionally you get somebody who forgets who works for who, but normally they're the bottom 10%
Mm-hmm.
people. The people at the top in DFA. I mean, you can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah. Well, it's got to be. Yeah, they're as good as the higher up people that are running it. I mean, and maybe that's where some of these other ag co-ops went wrong. Is that it all started becoming more about how profitable can we be? How many locations can we expand to? And now you've got these conglomerates where it's like really an individual farmer has essentially no say.
Well, and also too, like DFA, if DFA is not successful, the farmers are not successful. I'm not talking. I'm not meaning to be disparaging upon any of the other co-ops, but they really don't give a rip. If you fail, as long as your check cleared for whatever product you got, you're on your own. DFA, if you run into a problem, you can call them up and say, "Hey, look, this is what's going on. I've got this problem, this problem, and this problem. Can you help me out?" And within 24, 48 hours, somebody from DFA that is an expert in those problems will be on your facility walking you through what's going on. I don't know of any other co-op that has a responsive support system like that.
Yeah.
I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, that's impressive.
it's
And
quite
like,
amazing.
yeah. The other thing that is very much different between like that ag retail co-op that we're kind of comparing and contrasting right now with DFA is that, I mean, DFA does all your end marketing like to the end user.
Yes. So
Man, that would be cool if if you have CHS over here explaining GMOs and Roundup to be, actually
doing full
coming
service
to the row crop producers' defense, and a lot of these lawsuits and stuff that's going out there. Yeah, I mean they're really not. You have some of the larger manufacturers, but that's because it's their butt on the line.
Right.
Most of the time, if they're BASF has to, defend Roundup in a court case. They're the ones doing it. It's not necessarily, these large retail co-ops that are, at the defense of the grower, or just making sure that story of the farmer is being told now.
Well, and with DFA, we're all in it together, and I think that's a huge driver is that if there's any bad publicity on a dairy farmer that's in any co-op of the dairy industry, specifically DFA, if something gets spun the wrong direction or incorrectly or is manufactured, DFA will back their person 9 ways to Sunday. They, to a extent, and to an extent, like there are customers of DFA that DFA supplies that some bad publicity has happened, whether it's on a DFA farm or not, and they say, "Well, we're not taking your milk if you've got anybody like that." I'll say, "Well, we don't have anybody like that because we have a farm program. There is a very stringent set of rules and guidelines that are imposed upon us as dairymen, and I guess I would say it's more of a code of ethics that DFA is in huge support of, and dairy farmers in general are, and most people in ag are very in support of, anyways, because how you treat the animal, how you treat the corn, the end result will reflect how good your stewardship was. And I would say the reason why DFA is probably the greatest co-op in the world, specifically ag co-op, is because their stewardship of their farmers and their farmers to their animals and their products is second class to none.
It's time for a crop nutrition plan that gets more return from every drop. Starting with Pro Germinator from AgroLiquid, a complete phosphorus fertilizer product that includes nitrogen, potassium, and iron. More than 30 years of research shows that lower application rates of Pro Germinator often outperform other sources of fertilizer. With AgroLiquid's Pro Germinator, you can apply less and expect more. Find out more at agroliquid.com.
One of the other things that surprised me is how many different products DFA touches. I mean, you talked about salsa.
We're in every single aisle in the grocery store. Every single one. There is some dairy product that
In
is
every single
in
aisle.
every single aisle, even on the fruits and vegetable side. Like that's usually the one that people are like, oh well, they can't possibly be in there. There's
Is there
actually
dairy in a lot of like the preservatives used? I guess preservatives has a negative connotation. Maybe I shouldn't say preservatives,
there's
but
whey protein. There's milk isolates. There's certain calcium products that are in different pastas and stuff like that that were there. Even on the the fruit and vegetable side, some of the preservatives are a whey protein preservative that is sprayed on, and it's organic, it's healthy for you, and it's not going to hurt you. It's not a chemical. It's a preservative that is a natural preservative.
yeah, and people are very conscious of what they feed their kids.
Oh, absolutely. They're not so concerned about what they feed themselves,
Yeah,
but what they feed their kids, that's a different story.
yeah,
But yeah, every single aisle in the grocery store, we have a product either as a brand like Annie's pasta. That's one that nobody would suspect DFA owns.
yeah.
Borden Dairy Gold. Those are all there. We have.
It's not just the chocolate milk of the Fairlife chocolate milk.
Well, and
on the
that's
shelf,
even.
right?
I think that's a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola product at this juncture.
Yeah,
We
I think they bought Fairlife like in the last couple of years.
yeah.
I
There
think
was a
it was recent. Yeah,
huge change. I think it's Coke is who owns Fairlife now, but and that all started with a corporation called Riverview LLP, which is a massive dairy family in the Midwest that they are also and have been DFA members at different junctures in their careers. So
yeah. So do you have to be a member of DFA if you supply milk? I mean, there's really no way to go around it, really. I mean, if you're
uh,
wanting to,
I'm gonna say yes.
like, you cannot sell milk that comes out of your cows, out of your tanks, to like Leprino directly, right? It's got to go through DFA.
There's a. I'm gonna give you the case in point. Idaho is basically the wild west of the dairy industry. There's guys that'll self haul, self contract with Chobani, Dannon, DFA. DFA really prefers that you stick with one outfit. You take care of us, we'll take care of you.
Right.
You may not hit all of the highs, but you're certainly not going to hit all the lows either. And it is a free market until you sign a contract.
Right.
And then at that point in time, you're locked.
Right. I know one of the other cool things they've done. You know what we should have done? Is drank a big glass of milk, recorded this whole episode with
Hey, we can do that
a
on the
milk
third
mustache.
podcast.
There we go. Yeah, talk about them doing marketing, but
Yeah.
um,
Well,
got milk.
We've got the John Elway posters from back in the day. That's got
Oh yeah.
the milk mustache. Scott Milk, it's the best thing ever. Great. Nothing's better than victory except for a glass of milk.
Yep. I like that. That is good. Milk is great. We got through a lot of milk.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course you think it's
Well,
good.
here's the funny thing about me is I really don't care if you drink it. I just want you to buy it. Take it off the shelf. Get rid of it. Make it move somewhere else. Ben and Jerry's, anything that's got milk products in it, mac and cheese, whatever, move it. I want you to be healthy and happy, and if that involves drinking milk, all the better. Drink more of it, even better. Eat the Ben and Jerry's after you eat some mac and cheese. Hell yeah. Get the fat kid on. Let's go. Eat a cube of butter like my uncle.
Next Gen Fertilizers is introducing SeedLink, the game changing planter box product that's revolutionizing corn planter box products. SeedLink delivers uniform emergence like never before, so every seed gets the perfect start. It's packed with phosphorus, humic and fulvic acids, amino acids, and beneficial biology. And the best part, SeedLink is half the cost of most of the other competitive products, even with more in it. We're not just applying biology here, we're actually applying biology with a food source. Use SeedLink on your corn today and get better emergence, better results, and all for a better price. Going into the crop side.
Okay.
So you mentioned last time that you contract about 4,000 acres of corn silage.
Yep.
That goes through a cow on your dairy.
Yep.
And so, yeah, tell me a little bit more about your farm, because you're growing some of your own corn.
Yeah, we grow about a little over 1,000 acres worth of corn on our own ground, and then we consume another 3,000 to 4,000 acres annually of corn silage, and then there's another it's close to about 3,000 more, 4,000 more acres worth of high moisture corn that we consume as well, and then you add in all the canola products, soy products, and stuff. I think it, yeah, alfalfa, all triticale, all that stuff. I think if I remember my math correctly, and this was a couple years ago that I was bored in a tractor and I did all the math one time. I want to say we consume about 80,000 acres of product between all of those feedstuffs. So it's really interesting how big of an impact that can have regionally and community wide. It goes a long, long way. I think we were talking earlier. A dollar in that. So when we get paid for our milk, when we distribute that to growers and our employees and local companies that we deal with, and even regional companies, but on the local side, a dollar from DFA that pays for our milk will circulate in our local community, and by local community, in county, at least 7 times before it rolls out.
Talk about stimulating the economy.
Hey, that's the idea. I mean, you added 85 employees to the region with our one dairy operation or 2 facilities, and then that money goes around 7 times just for those 85 guys, and then you've got, oh shoot, I want to say we're like 35, 40 different growers between alfalfa, high moisture, and corn silage. That goes around at least 7 times. And then you've got the retail guys, that goes around 6 or 7 times. You got all the maintenance guys, that goes around 6 or 7 times. And, there's quite a swirling of cash
I know.
that's running around in there.
Yeah, it's very sick. I mean, it's cool. The stepping back and like actually thinking about the cycle of money, especially when you keep it local. Like
Yeah,
that.
oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's super cool. I mean, really taking a lot of the production in house has actually helped you to do that as well.
Oh, hugely. You're not paying for somebody else's overhead plus your own.
Right.
So if you can do the overhead yourself, yeah, if you retain more money, you can have more money to circulate around and go that way. And we try really hard when we do hire somebody to come in and do a job. There may be 3 or 4 different options. One guy might be really great at this one particular thing. Projects will probably go to him. Somebody else really great with the same type of project, but slightly different expertise on something else that we need, we'll move that over to them. So I guess to an extent, when we do hire guys outside of our operation to come in and do things, dirt work, for instance, or concrete or something like that, flat work's different than stem walls. Might be the same concrete company by the time you're done, but we try really hard to share in the community and keep everybody alive. We survive, you survive, everybody survives. It's got to be a win-win for everybody.
What is one of the things, having your own farming operation now, because you really were making all the decisions in the farming, what, 8 years ago,
Yeah.
or what, 10 years ago is kind of when you started in that.
Yeah, sure. We can slide somewhere in that time frame.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. So you've had to learn a lot about, growing corn and
Yeah.
growing rye or triticale or alfalfa or whatever the
Mm-hmm.
crop may be.
And still learning. Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the cool uh, experiences we both had, was being in that next level, or now it's called Total Acre Group, and learning a little bit from Randy and David. What were some of the big takeaways when it comes to, okay, how can I be the most profitable on my corn farm? What were some big takeaways for you?
I honestly can't even say that it's most profitable. It's the thought processes that they brought in. Timing, attention to detail, and level of acceptance. It's not just corn. It's it's the cows. It's the equipment. It's the family life. It's um, self care. Those sorts of things. I mean, it applies to all of that. I think that stuff's huge. Um, my dad happened to be there on uh, one of the field days that Randy and David were out at our farm, and the thing that my dad constantly harps on now is timing, attention to detail, and level of acceptance. Like that is now part of our culture at Kraft Family Dairies. So I would say that was a huge profit margin for the $5,000, even if that's the only thing that we learned, which it's not. That was totally worth
Yeah.
the $5,000 a year. You know, I didn't go to school for agronomy. I didn't go to school for plant sciences. But I feel like I can hold pretty good on where our farming operation needs to go and what our crops need and those sorts of things. And I feel uh, one of the main reason, other than you're a great guy, um, that you and I ended up doing business together is we were hearing the same things. And you're not afraid to tell me like it is, and I'm not afraid to tell you like it is. And, you know, we can agree to disagree on things, but we can also talk things till we're blue in the face. And
And eventually you come around. That's
yeah, occasionally, and sometimes you come around, even though you think I'm an idiot when I start talking about it. You know that I think that was a huge piece for me is being in that peer group, like we kind of talked about on the last podcast, and being able to share the information, have the same type information, and being able to have conversations about the pros and cons and the equal and opposite reactions that would happen if, oh well, a quart of sugar is good. Why not a gallon of sugar?
Right.
And
Yeah, really pushing the limits and trying to kill
yeah,
something,
yeah,
so to speak, to figure out what pays and what doesn't.
and you know that was probably the most interesting learning experience. Is it's really hard to fucking kill something.
Yeah.
It's really freaking hard. It is amazingly hard, and um, I don't know if we actually have killed anything. We've come close.
Yeah, I mean, I think the closest we've come to killing something is how much manure you pump on. So, talk
You
about the manure
know,
a little bit, because I think that paints a good picture of what we're dealing with, on your farm specifically. So you've got these legumes, and one of the things that surprised me, starting to work with you, because out here in Yuma County, a lot of the customers I had to work with really, um, they weren't
they're
they
synthetic
weren't looking
believers.
for more acres to get rid of manure on. They
Right.
were farming acres to be, the most profitable, or and not that you're not doing that, but they were farming to raise the absolute best crop they could.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and we started out by row crop farming was a necessary evil to get rid of manure.
right. So
And
you got how many gallons of manure, or
oh,
because
every
the
6 months we unload about 25 to 32 million gallons.
million
Million
gallons
gallons, and
of
now
liquid manure.
and at this juncture that takes about 15 to 20 days. Um,
32 million gallons in 20 days.
20 days.
20 days.
And typically we're covering between 1,500 and 2,500 acres every 6 months between alfalfa and corn ground.
Yeah, when I started working with you, I mean, we were on almost 10 years, I think, on some stuff.
Yep.
Annual applications of manure, sometimes biannual.
Yep.
That single application rate was around, 15,000 gallons an acre?
Yeah, right around there. So about 150, 250 pounds of nitrogen availability. And we even, some of it we even bumped up to 450 depending on where we had shit ground.
Right. Yeah, obviously, I mean, all within staying within compliance.
Well, and that's the hard thing too with that everybody's got to understand in the dairy business is we're so heavily regulated. Any manure that leaves my facility has to be recorded and documented, how much, where, when, to who, and we have to meet yield goals in order to continue to do that sort of stuff. And the last, I guess we're on year 3 or 4 now, where we've really pulled back on any manure applications on our farms, which we're starting to see it in our yields, and not in a great way as far as profitability. Um, there's absolutely use and moderation is true, and I think we've always stayed in that moderation neck of the woods. I don't think we've overdone it. We have different farming practices now, like sugars and carbon products, so that we can be more useful of the nutrients that we are putting in there, because they're not necessarily all plant available just because they come out of a cow.
Right. Well, they're all in the organic form, which it's kind of backwards.
Right. Yeah.
The plant does not, an organic, a nutrient in the organic form is not plant available. The plant wants the inorganic form. So it's that conversion process we got to help with, like with what you said, whether it's sugars or carbon sources, whether it's humic or fulvic. I mean, there's lots of different biostimulants too that we can use to help get those nutrients that we have through the manure. We just got to get them into the plant now, and I think that was probably one of the areas. And don't get me wrong, I love manure, but we definitely butted heads on this.
Yeah, at the beginning you really didn't like manure.
No, manure is great, and it wasn't just because I wanted to sell you fertilizer either.
Oh, sure.
Manure is great, and in fact, we just don't have enough of it out here. Like, I wish we had more, because
I wish people would pay for it.
We ran out this year. Come to Yuma County.
Morgan County, everybody's like, "Oh, we've been getting it for free for so long."
Oh, I know, and it was the same way here too. Yep. I think they've got guys learned now that you got to pay for it.
Well, at this juncture now, with where fertilizer prices are, that would probably be a larger profit center for me than selling milk.
Yeah,
and it probably should be.
Yeah, I mean, 32 million gallons a year.
Yeah.
So,
Well, 32 million every 6 months.
Or every 6 months, so 64 million gallons a year of manure.
It's a lot of shit.
That is. I was actually thinking it, and I'm glad you said it. So. One of the things too with manure is that we did see that. Again, I don't want to say over application, but the consecutive application is that it definitely led us to some challenges on your farm, and some soils that I've been an agronomist for now in the last 7 years in the Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas area. It's like we have these same issues. Manure might not be the main instigator, but I mean, a couple of those we've actually really learned, and I'm appreciative for you being willing to try some of these things because they're not always the cheapest, but you do it on a few acres and it's all of a sudden pretty cheap
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. But, obviously one of those battles we were facing was high pH, in ground that was already naturally alkaline soils.
And we found out that through all of our water sampling and everything that we did with our wells and with the ditch water and the manure water, which is part of our regulatory situation, our manure water was better than the ditch water,
Yeah, irrigation water, and
which
that's
is
one of the things we
crazy.
learned. Like, we can change pH in the ground, and there's a lot of people that's like, oh, you just can't do it,
Right.
or it's really easy to raise pH. Go throw out a little bit of beet lime, or
Right.
some source of lime or gypsum. In really sandy soils, you can with gypsum. Heavy soil, you just can't apply enough gypsum to actually change your pH because of the way what it actually replaces on that cation. But like with an very alkaline soil, so a pH of like 8.2, now we're trying to lower that, and you got a strip tiller, a soil warrior, and we were. Typically when we want to do a soil amendment, we're talking about broadcasting, and that probably wouldn't have been feasible at the rates we were looking at doing.
Oh, Lord,
But
no.
really wanting to do like, okay, what does it take to move the needle? And we figured out we can lower pH
Yeah.
on the soil.
Just extremely expensive
It is expensive
and time consuming.
and we could do it with elemental sulfur or AMS. And we were changing pH by 2 points in half a year. Some of the heavier ground took a full year. But the problem that we saw was with the higher pH irrigation water is that we were basically bringing it right back up. So we're putting a Band-Aid on it. It was helping, for a few months in the growing season, but then it was just instantly, we go back. And if it wasn't for pulling those in-season samples, we wouldn't have learned that. If we would have just always pulled in the fall, it wouldn't have really looked like we were changing that pH.
Right. Well, and I think that that's where I'm really excited to get into the higher into the carbon and the sugars situations. Listening to a lot of guys talk here recently about you may actually be far more beneficial on just the carbons and the sugars and being able to change things that way and having a plethora of things that are beneficial over time with very, very few negatives. I'd really have to do some studying on to figure out what the negative drawbacks are on carbon application, other than making shit sick.
Right. Well, I mean, there's really, it's just not economical to apply enough to even get to that point. So, I really don't think you can over apply carbon. In fact, I put like 50 pounds on my garden, which is like, I don't know, 800 square feet maybe.
Holy
so
crap.
that's like
that's the most expensive
100x.
freaking tomatoes in the world there.
I know. But in the sand in Ray now, I've got black dirt. I got the best farm ground in the county. So
Cadillac.
So, no, it is black dirt. It holds water probably twice as much of what it did before, and you just can't ever do that on a true production ag scale.
I think that's the other conversation about manure that we need to have too. Is manure is the only product that's available in bulk quantities that a commercial outfit can't touch, and that's organic material. With what we're doing with our liquid applications of manure and even the dry applications is the amount of organic material that we're able to apply and change what our holding capacity is for water and change the leachability that's in our soils. I think that that's really something to be of note. And also too, as that stuff breaks down, that becomes a carbon situation and carbon source too. So, and you also have to remember it came out of the back end of a cow, which inside of an animal is bugs. There's a biology that's going on in there, and the biology is a huge contributor to anything that's green and growing. And when you apply the manure, not only are you getting the biological functions that are in there, um, you're also getting that organic material along with, and no less valuable, the nitrogen, the phos, the potassium, and all the micros and everything like that that you're going to pay for anyway.
Right. And we saw that a few years ago when we started doing the microbiometer testing. And I mean, your bacteria counts were like 4x of what neighboring fields
Insane.
were. So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely lots of good bacteria out there. But one of the things we ran into was not enough fungi. So, that is, I mean, kind of another learning thing. I don't want to call your farm a trial farm for me, but I really am appreciative of all the stuff we've been able to do because I constantly find myself going back in conversations with other customers and, referencing things we've learned there. So thank you for the opportunity because, I mean, there's a
Absolutely.
lot that we would not have known had we not, maybe gone off the conventional path.
Well, I'm always down for the weird. I'm down for trying things outside of the box, and I have this wonderful adrenaline rush when people go, "What the hell are you doing?" I and especially when it turns out really great, and even if it turns out wrong, it's really fun. A couple of years ago, I had a hired guy that forgot to put the grain drill down, and right on the freaking highway, like
Always is.
every time, and we had this 40-foot strip, no cover crop. That was probably one of the best learning experiences that we had. And at the time, we were only doing it on probably half of our ground, and now we do it on every freaking bit of it. Um, yeah, there's some drawbacks. Uh, Colder soil temps, a little bit more moisture suck at the beginning of the year, but year over year over year, you have higher organic material that's in the ground, so you have a larger water holding capacity. Um, we've been able to reduce a lot of our herbicides over the years because we're running rye or trit, depending on what we need for an allelopathic quality.
Mhm. That's one of the benefits of cover cropping that I don't think is always talked about enough. And it really is that spring weed control.
Oh yeah, it's
There were, I
huge.
mean, we had a warm March this year, and there were pigweeds out of the ground almost everywhere else except where there was a cover crop, and it was just it over competed, and so we were able to kill all those pigweeds on your farm with a residual herbicide because it hadn't germinated and came up in March
Right.
when a lot of this other, where it was just corn stalks out there and bare ground basically after our awesome Colorado winds
Well,
over
and
the
that's
winter.
that's the other
It's like,
thing is we didn't scalp our ground.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So,
huge.
I mean, cover cropping. There's another something big that you've implemented on your farm and are now, you know, reaping the benefits of it.
Well, the most valuable soil that you have is the stuff you see in the air going to your neighbors.
Yep,
And with cover
exactly.
crops,
Top 3 inches.
it's really interesting to be able to drive by a cover crop field and there be no dirt in the air coming off of your stuff. And you've got the brown cloud everywhere else, and you're going, why doesn't everybody else do this? And I think that's that lag on the farming deal where, well, grandpa didn't do it, so we're not doing it. And you kind of got to get that next generation in there to go, oh, can we try this? But it takes a long time to catch on.
Yeah.
I got
No,
I
I
got king
no
corn
doubt.
in Morgan County to grow cover crop one time, and he was tickled pink until he didn't get it sprayed on time, and then he thought it was an absolute disaster, and it turned out to be one of the best yielding years he ever had. Same thing with us. We strip tilled with that soil warrior into 2.5 foot tall barley one year that was planted at 120 pounds an acre, and you were pretty sure we killed it. That we killed the corn.
I didn't think that corn would come out.
And what it did is it that corn really blossomed quite nicely in the challenge where it was shading itself out with the barley, and it had to get tall. It had to get lean and mean to get out of the shadows and into the sunlight, and that was one of the best years we ever had. The cutters hated us
Yeah.
because they were just dragging barley
Right.
trash around all over the place. But
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
that was
it looked
phenomenal.
like we applied like a 5x rate of gibberellic acid on it because that stuff was the distance between the internodes, even from V2 to V3, was just amazing because that plant was just trying to grow to sunlight.
Well, and I want to do it again. I know
Yeah.
you're scared too, but I want to do it again.
Yeah. So this is also, I guess Stratton has also made me chase down choppers, keep track of trucks, and scale tickets. Keep in mind these are custom choppers, so they love it when I slow them down.
Yeah.
On a like a 30 hybrid variety trial
Yeah.
for a couple years. So
Yep. 10,
yeah,
12
he's not
rows at a
afraid.
time.
He's not afraid to make my life difficult. That's for
I'm not
sure.
afraid to make anybody's life difficult. It makes everybody's easier later on.
Well, that's true. That's true. What? So in your farming career now, okay, just specifically corn.
Okay.
What's your funniest story you got where you maybe pushed something a little too far, or maybe didn't quite kill something, thought you were going to?
Probably the funniest story that I can come up with right now is you and me arguing about the way we were going to do plot trials and thinking, oh yeah, this would be a great idea
It always sounds
to
so
take
good in
a
January too.
64-acre linear farm and turn it into a 1-acre strip trial with between different varieties of corns from different brands to fertility trials and everything else. And I think that was the longest 18-hour day of planting 64 acres in my life.
Yeah, but it
And
was
then we did
you
it.
probably had the biggest research farm in the state of Colorado
Yeah,
that year.
and it was totally unbiased. I really love the information that we get out of it. I'm really glad that we're not doing it on that scale this year.
Right.
Um, it'd be an interesting year to do water deprivation trials. Um,
But we might unintentionally have
yeah,
some of those
we're
anyways.
gonna have that somewhere. I'm sure.
Sometimes you learn the most from the accidental trials, and I know we did that a couple years
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
Whether it's double planted corn or
Yeah.
maybe it's no starter. Oh, starter didn't turn on. Let's see what kind of ROI we got when we're putting the starter out versus when
Oh
we're
yeah,
not.
let's
Or
go
in
put
furrow.
boundaries on all of our field from
Yeah.
the ops center, and oh shit, we're 5 foot inside of our field boundaries, and we ended up planting 15,000 seeds per acre on the outside 3 rows, and turns out into some Goliath corn. But
Right.
you know, and then my dad comes by and says, "Hey, did you see that corn on the Mininger farm? It's like 1.5 feet apart from each other." Had to come up with an answer real quick. Oh yeah, we're trying to farm some sunlight because we're short on water.
Yeah.
And it's not a lie. It's
Right.
true. And I definitely think that the most fun I've had is laughing off of the mistakes, the quote unquote mistakes that we've had that turn into, maybe we ought to implement that more. Let's throw down 160-pound barley. Let it get to 3 foot tall, where you can't even see the bar on the soil where you're pulling behind the tractor, and then let's plant corn into it. And you having an absolute meltdown, thinking that we were gonna kill it all, and that we were so nervous about you being able to come back the next year because we were gonna kill it, and it's like, no, see what happens.
I think the only time I've been more worried about us going to kill corn, which I still can't believe we didn't in hindsight, is when your hired hand accidentally put 9 gallons of nitrogen in furrow because he pulled out of the wrong tank.
Yeah, and then the thing that really set us backwards is we pulled the trigger and we went ahead and replanted everything.
Yeah, so we could stay at 118-day silage corn.
Yeah, and it turned out with, what was our population, like 58,000 somewhere in
Yeah,
there.
58 is
70
kind
in
of our
some
final.
places.
Basically had 2 stands.
Yeah, and itty bitty little ears. Lots of corn.
Yeah, a lot of Yep.
Yeah,
A lot of forage.
yeah. We figured out how far to push it,
Yep.
and that was too far.
Exactly. I think one of the I don't even know. I can call it funny now. It wasn't funny at the time because as your agronomist, I felt pretty dumb. Um, but Randy Dowdy came out here and you said, "Well, which field should we take him to?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know. This one looks good. This other one looks good." You're like, "Oh, this one, my number one pick, sprinkler just ran over. It was muddy." It's like we can't take a field day of people out there. So I think we had, I don't know, 15, 20 people from all over, I don't know, 4 or 5 surrounding states, and go out in your field, and he just rips it apart.
Yep.
Randy was not impressed.
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, you got a late emerger here. You got a late emerger there. What's the problem? What's wrong with your planter?" Yeah, it's funny now, but that I don't know if he actually gives compliments anyways, but it's something else. And I mean, your personality. I mean, you weren't just gonna sit back and take it either. But
Oh no, I like
that was a funny.
I
Yeah,
love
that was a
dishing it
funny
back to
interaction.
him. Yeah,
and
yeah.
yep, Randy finds it pretty easy.
Well, it's always easy to give criticism and not give compliments. I mean, I think that's true with everybody. Randy's just way better at giving criticism than compliments.
Yeah, but you've never been caught cheating on an NCGA plot, so
Nope.
I guess you got that going.
This
for you.
is true. This is true. Yep. Yeah.
I probably wasn't supposed to say that. I don't know if that's gotten it.
Well, that sucks. Hey, man, facts are facts, and
Yeah,
you know, just play it straight.
yeah,
Play it straight. Play it real. Keep it simple as possible, and learn from your mistakes. I bet you won't do it again. And I've also never said, "Oh, I'm not growing corn this year because the price isn't right." I've got cattle to feed. I've got to grow corn.
mm-hmm.
It's not an option for me. But he can be a leader of the corn group and not grow corn for 2 years.
Agriculture varies so much.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and
Operation can look a lot.
yeah,
different.
and what works for one guy might not work for another guy. And I mean, hell, we have it on some farms where it works great on one farm and like shit on another farm.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Figure out your way around it, and I think that's probably the reason why everybody that's in other industries other than ag, and even ag guys, is they all want the farm kids. We can make sunshines and rainbows out of rainy days real fast.
That's true. One of the cool things, I kind of skipped over this when we were talking about manure, but I think it's super cool how you apply manure.
Oh, drag lining.
Because, yeah, and I mean, I wasn't really aware of it. I mean, I had heard of it being done in like New York or something, or maybe Wisconsin dairies or something. I think I saw something on social media. Because when we're talking about manure applications, we're not talking about taking a manure spreader out there and spreading dry. Obviously,
anymore,
we talked about a
yeah.
lagoon. So all liquid. This isn't just effluent being pumped on through the sprinkler. How do you apply?
So we drag line, which when I found out that was a possibility, I thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread. We'd been doing everything with tankers, and we were having a lot of guys with compaction issues, even ourselves, and the time to get it out, 6,000 gallons at a time for 32 million gallons, like it just never ended. Lo and behold, I jumped on Facebook and we got onto this Manure Kings group and found these drag liners that were actually in Colorado doing another dairy. Guy named Peter Eldridge has several dairies in New York, and he built one in Colorado, and he brought his custom crew out from New York to pump his lagoons off. And I reached out on Manure Kings, and those guys were absolutely phenomenal to deal with. And I was looking at 240 days of hauling with trucks, 3 trucks on the road. And so that's 3 6,000-gallon tankers on the road and a 10,800-gallon tanker on a tractor hauling for 240 days straight. You don't have that much time.
Right.
And the pro with that is that you didn't really notice how much it cost you because it was just a daily norm, right? You were just paying for it in diesel and wages, and truck repairs and stuff like that. That was the fastest 15 days manure I'd ever seen in my life. 5,500 gallons a minute, 120 psi, and line from the lagoon to the back end of a tractor in the field up to 8 miles away, just absolutely cruising. And
So you've got 8 miles of hose going from the dairy lagoon
8 miles of hose
down ditches, under bridges, going.
Yep. All over the place. And you can't go line of sight, right? Because there's a freaking house in the way, there's grain bins in the way, there's a creek in the way. Well, this guy will let you cross the ground, but that guy won't. So having to figure all that stuff out, and then you get into the back of the tractor and it goes up through this swing pipe. And what we were doing that year was we were rip injecting. So shanks were 30 inches on center, and we were doing a 0 to 12-inch profile. So from 0, like grade, to 12 inches below, we were flowing manure into that rip cut right behind. So we were doing our primary tillage and injecting at the same time subsurface. So we didn't have the gas off. We had full nutrient retention. And it was really cool because I could jump over here and it'd wiggle over there. It was just totally awesome. And they could knock out a 135 acre field in about 7.5 hours, which when we were doing it with trucks, it'd take us about 9 days to get the exact same amount. And we'd have 80% of it gas off because it was all topically applied.
Yeah.
So nutrient efficiency is phenomenal at this juncture with the drag laying and stuff. And then being able to go on the hay ground with the dribble bar and drop it an inch and a half off the ground, and it leaves that organic material mat on top, so all the nutrients and the moisture goes down into the dirt, and then it creates this mat that's left on top that retains that moisture and helps with your fungus and your bacteria and keeping that all there. And then as soon as you run the sprinkler on, it washes off all of the leaves, and off to the races we go. So I think that was an absolute phenomenal deal. Bloody expensive, but it's about $500,000 every 6 months to move that much out there. But it sure beats having trucks on the road and getting snowed out and stuff, and having snow out days. And it's a phenomenal system at this juncture.
Yeah, well, I think I'll have to have you back on again. Unfortunately, we didn't even get to any specific products, and I got to have some kind of customer testimonial here talking about the products.
Okay.
So no. Well, thanks a lot, Stratton.
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Conversations. I always enjoy it with you.
Yeah, love to do it again.
Yeah, a lot of farming in a little different mindset than what most of my customers work in. So I appreciate the different points of views and the opportunity to do a ton of different testing, whether it's with the hybrids, spacing, sunlight, road direction, irrigation, fertility products, biological products, timings of different applications. There's always something new and cool that we're experimenting with, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that on your farm. So
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure working with you.
Absolutely, and you always got to remember, if you don't like the way it looks, look at it a different way.
There you go.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, well, thanks a lot, and we'll see you guys next time on the Next Gen podcast.